as to what the proper response would be in their role play. Zachary was given Moses' part, and the others worked in pairs and came in with problems for things that he needed to tackle. In the first duel, Jessica and Danae, they approached the leader and they said, "We have no food." And Moses thought for a minute and then nervously answered, "Well, go kill some animals." The next pair were the Terrence children, and their problem? Someone's been killing our animals. I had a divisional commander once named Kenneth Johnson. He was also my territorial commander in Russia, and now we've sent him on missionary work as the chief in the Eastern Territory. He developed a set of rules for servant leaders, and he had rule number 6, and that was that servant leaders share their responsibility and authority with others they meet, with others to meet a greater need. And we can find this shown in this chapter of Exodus that I've been reading, chapter 18. If you have your Bibles, if you turn to chapter 18, I'm going to read from the New International Version, and I'll be beginning with the 13th verse. Chapter 18, beginning with verse 13. The next day, Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people, and they stood around him from morning until evening. And when his father-in-law saw that Moses was doing for the people, "What is this you're doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge while all these people stand around you from morning until evening?" And Moses answered him, "Because the people come to me to seek God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties, and I inform them of God's decrees and laws." Moses' father-in-law replied, "What you're doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Listen to me, and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. You must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to Him. Teach them the decrees and laws and show them the way to live and the duties that they are to perform. But select capable men from among all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men, who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands and hundreds and fifties and tens. And have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases that they can decide themselves, and that will make your load lighter because they share it with you. If you do this, and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied." Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. He chose capable men from all of Israel and made them leaders over the people, of officials over the thousands, the hundreds, the fifties, and the tens. They served as judges for the people at all times. The difficult cases they brought to Moses, but the simple ones they decided themselves. Let us pray. Dear Lord, please protect me from myself, my low expectations. Take me now and hide me behind your cross, so that your people will hear your word and receive your message in spite of anything that I may say or do. May the meditations of my heart and the words of my mouth be acceptable to you, Lord Jesus. In your name I pray. Amen. The chief way that you and I are disloyal to Christ is when we make small what he intended to make large. When we make large what he intended to be small. One of the problems faced by the Salvation Army and the church as a whole today is that people have lost the understanding of what church membership and worship is all about. In many ways, the standards have dropped. Folks come to church not to give, they come to receive. And they don't come to worship, they come for some personal pampering and personal worship. They're not learning how to lead, they just want to be fed. I cannot even count the number of times over the years that I've been told all over this country, people tell me, I don't attend the Army anymore because I just wasn't being fed there. That's truly arrogant and self-serving statement. And Most of the time when I ask those people, where are you attending church now? They say, well, nowhere. The next day Moses took his seat and served as judge for the people, and they stood around him from morning till evening. And when his father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he said, what is this you're doing for your people? Reminds me of father-in-law, I know. Why don't you sit alone and judge while these people stand around you from morning till evening? And Moses answered him, because the people come to me to seek God's will. And whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and laws. One of the mistakes often made when a person tries to lead is they think that they have to do everything themselves. I ran into this a lot. I've run into this a lot over the years, both here in the United States and even when I'm in Russia. You ask someone to do something and they go, oh Major, I can't do that. Well, I think you'd be great for that. Why can't you do that? Oh, it's too hard. It's too much. I don't have enough time. Or when they do take on the job, they won't let anybody do any part of it. It's kind of a desire to control and to hold what is ours. Any attempt to change it hurts feelings and sometimes anger. Often God has to help us let go of our tiny vision in order to release us for the greater good He has in store for us. We can't hold on to programs so tightly or refuse to do programs in such a way that our programs at the core do not expand and flourish. Instead, they flounder. And core officers, sometimes they're overworked or they're just ineffective because they need to get their attention to every little thing. Servant leaders share their responsibility and the authority with others to meet a greater need. You know that you can do more with a handful of totally devoted believers than with a church full of half-hearted ones. We heard that in Sunday school today, didn't we? We were studying Gideon. Started out with thousands, ended up with 300. Wiped the Mennonites out. Wiped the Mennonites out. Look at the father-in-law's good advice here. Advice even the church, the core, needs to take today. He said to Moses, what you're doing is not good. You'll wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy. You can't handle it alone. Well, who likes to hear that from their father-in-law? I'll give you some advice, and may God be with you. You need to have, and basically he tells Moses to get people and to teach them how to do what he's doing. And then to break the work up into small bites. We have a saying here that Major uses around this office all the time. My staff is, I'm giving them some idea, something that I want them to do, and they're all looking at me and shaking their heads. And I remind them, how do you eat an elephant? One spoonful at a time. One spoonful at a time. Oswald Chambers tells us that most of us are spiritually inefficient because we cannot do certain things and remain spiritual. Kind of knocked me off my block when I read that. We cannot do certain things and remain spiritual. We can't be spiritual in prayer meetings. We can be spiritual in worship and in spiritual society and what is known as Christian work. But we cannot be spiritual in drudgery. We're all capable of being spiritual sluggards if we live a sequestered life and continually don't do what we ought to do. We can develop a spiritual life, but in actual things that we're easily knocked out. We are trying to develop a life that is sanctified and holy, but it is spiritually inefficient. It cannot wash feet. It cannot do secular things without being tainted. The world is to be cleaned by somebody. And you're not called by God if you're ashamed to scrub. Whoa. Whoa, Oswald. You didn't say that to me, did you? Yeah, you did. You're not called by God if you're ashamed to scrub. We have such high opinions, you and I, of what we are called to do. Maybe not God's opinion, but certainly high. Let me help you think about it this way. One must not always think so much about what one should do, but rather what one should be. Our works do not ennoble us, but we must ennoble our works. Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. He chose capable men from all of Israel. He made them leaders of the people, officials over thousands and hundreds and fifties and tens. And they served as judges for the people at all times. In the difficult cases, they brought to Moses. But the simple ones, they decided themselves. Charles Spurgeon often worked 18 hours a day. I think he was probably a Salvation Army officer. Famous explorer missionary David Livingstone once asked him, "How do you manage to do 2 men's work in a single day?" And Spurgeon replied, "You have forgotten that there are 2 of us." You've forgotten that there are 2 of us. We shouldn't do anything without Jesus.
Amen.
Anything without Jesus. Matthew 18. I tell you the truth, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, I tell you that if 2 of you on earth agree about anything you ask for, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. For 2 or 3 come together in my name, there I am with them. And then Peter came to Jesus, good old Peter, and asked, "Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Up to 7 times?" And Jesus answered, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times." Duty makes us do things well. But love makes us do things beautifully. Servant leaders share their responsibility and authority with others to meet a greater need. So what kind of needs are you meeting today? Are you meeting the greater need that God has for you? Is there some need in your life you need to approach? Do you not know? I'm going to ask my AV person to play that video one more time, and while it's playing, the altar is open. If you don't know what need you should be meeting, or if there's a need that you think that maybe you should be meeting, maybe a good way to start would be to have a conversation with Jesus right here at this altar. Talk with him about where he wants you to be and what he wants you to do. Please.